Imagine this. A single policy change comes out of Washington, and almost overnight, a massive multi-billion-dollar industry is thrown into total chaos, affecting thousands of lives. Today, we're digging into the U.S. visa shock that is completely changing the game for Indian IT. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with one almost unbelievable number.
Yep, you're seeing that right. $100,000. A figure so big it almost looks like a typo. But this is no mistake. It's a very deliberate policy, and it's right at the heart of the incredible story we're exploring today.
So, what on earth is this number? Well, it's the shocking new price tag the U.S. government suddenly decided to slap on a single H-1B work visa. You know, for decades, this visa was the main pipeline for getting skilled foreign talent into the country. Now, with a price like this, it's not a pipeline, it's a financial wall.
Okay, so let's get right into it and unpack these new rules. How in the world did we get here, and what exactly does this policy do? It all revolves around something called the H-1B visa. Now, for decades, this has been the absolute backbone for Indian IT companies working in the US. It let them bring their best engineers over to work side by side with American clients. It's pretty much the engine that powered their whole on-site business model.
So what's the official story here? Well, according to the US administration, the whole program was being abused. They claim it was used to replace American workers, not just supplement them. Now that framing is absolutely crucial. It positions this whole thing as a move to protect American jobs, not just some random economic policy.
And the way they rolled this out, it was pure chaos. The industry literally went from paying about $5,000 for a visa to $100,000. Announced on September 20th and put into effect the very next day. I mean, a one-day deadline that sent instant shockwaves through everyone.
And look, this wasn't just some headache for corporate accountants. We're talking about very real human consequences here. You had companies like Amazon and Microsoft scrambling to get their employees and their families back into the US before the deadline, causing just immense stress and uncertainty.
But wait, it doesn't stop there. The huge visa fee was aimed at the on-site model, right? The people working in the US? Well, there's another threat brewing, the proposed Hire Act, which would tax companies for offshoring jobs. When you put them together, it's like a regulatory pincer movement, squeezing the industry from every possible angle.
So when you drop a bombshell this big, what happens next? Well, exactly what you'd expect. Immediate and total financial chaos. Markets absolutely hate uncertainty, and this policy delivered that in spades.
Investors completely panicked. The U.S. stocks for the big Indian IT firms just plummeted. Infosys dropped as much as 7.5% in a single day. The market was sending a very, very clear message.
And the financial weight of this is just staggering. I mean, look at this. The fee didn't just go up. It basically teleported into a different stratosphere. It went from a totally manageable business cost to a massive barrier, pretty much overnight. Let this number sink in for a second. Over 10,000%. That's the scale of the increase we're talking about. For a medium-sized company with, say, 1,000 H-1B employees, this one policy could add $100 million to their costs every single year. It just changes the entire economic reality.
And the timing of all this, it could not have been worse. Seriously, the Indian IT sector was already dealing with a perfect storm of slowing demand, global uncertainty, and of course, the rise of AI. This visa shock was just like pouring gasoline on a fire that was already burning.
But this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because while the shock was absolutely real, it might not be the knockout punch it first seemed to be. The real story here might be about a transformation that was already happening, and this policy was just the catalyst, not the cause.
So the obvious question is, right, is this it? Is this a devastating final blow for one of India's most successful industries?
Or, and this is the key, is it just a powerful shove, accelerating a change that was already in motion? A painful push for sure, but a push toward a stronger, more resilient future.
Well, if you dig into the data, you find something really surprising. For years, the biggest Indian IT firms had actually been quietly moving away from their reliance on H-1B visas. In fact, the top 6 firms had already cut their visa sponsorships by almost half over the last 5 years.
And this wasn't some accident. It was a deliberate, proactive strategy. They kind of saw the writing on the wall. They started building stronger business models by hiring more people locally in the US and setting up delivery centers closer to home in places like Mexico or Canada.
You see, the biggest players were already getting ready. Take TCS, for example. More than half of its U.S. workforce is hired locally. Infosys had built what its own CFO called a pretty resilient model. These companies weren't caught completely flat-footed because they were already adapting.
And this brings us to the final, and maybe the most unexpected consequence of this entire situation, a phenomenon that could seriously reshape how global talent moves around for a generation to come.
People are calling it Garwapsi, which is a Hindi phrase that basically means homecoming. We're talking about a reverse brain drain. With the path to the U.S. now so difficult and expensive for so many, a wave of highly skilled, incredibly experienced Indian professionals might just decide to go home.
And you have to understand, this isn't a loss for India. It's a massive win. It's a brain gain. All this talent comes back with money, global connections, and invaluable expertise. The thinking is that this wave of returning talent could actually turbocharge India's own tech scene, creating a powerful new center for innovation.
Which leaves us with this one kind of mind-bending paradox. Could a policy that was designed to protect American jobs inadvertently end up creating its next big global competitor? It's a fascinating question, and one we'll definitely be watching play out for years to come.
If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Comment on Finance Seco India.